Also, my throat is on fire right now, so I don't know how long it'll last. I just came from a class where I talked a lot too, so I'm going to talk as much today for you guys because it'll kill me probably. I know you guys are all disappointed and sad, huh?
I'll bring you some green chili.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So we'll just see how this goes until I can't stand it anymore, and then maybe we'll stop. So, or maybe I'll just give you guys more work to do. I don't know. Yeah. So, all right. This is my favorite class, Microsoft Windows.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's go. The syllabus is pretty much the same. Everybody here is pretty much the same. There's a few different people, but read the syllabus if you're not sure. I'm pretty much going to be following the book in order in this. The way this guy is set up, it just works better that way. Unlike the Linux class where it will be kind of all over the place and everything else. So just plan, we'll probably go from chapter 1 all the way to chapter N. So it could probably be a bit of a cookie cutter class. I don't know if it just, it kind of be like we'll go through this chapter and we'll do these and then we'll set up this lab and do this kind of stuff and then we'll go on to the next one, okay? So you'll see it very different than from the Linux class that you're used to and just the style of the class. A lot of that has to do with the textbook. It's a little different. This is our actual textbook. And just the subject matter too. So, let's see, what else do I need to tell you? Everything applies to what I told you about the syllabus last time. Like I said, if you haven't, just read through the syllabus. It's very clear as to my expectations on homework. Homework is due the very next class before class starts. So yeah. Oh, I see I'm getting Linux and Windows confused already. I'm thinking this is the second Linux class already, but it's not. So no homework is due, right? So anyway, any questions about the syllabus or anything else I mentioned? No? All right. We'll just jump right into Windows because I feel like I'll be repeating myself for 99% of you, particularly when the syllabus is already out there. So just review it, and that's the boring stuff anyways. And then you guys have John before this class too, right? Yeah. I didn't think about that too, the last class, and that was like, isn't the CCNA class, that's like a 2-hour class too, right? I mean, yeah, my class for like 2 hours and stuff like that, right? It's the same way with this class too? Is that like a 2-hour class before this one?
No, it's not.
Or is it like the shorter one, the hour-and-a-half one or whatever? Okay. So do you guys need like a break in between? Do we need to do calisthenics like before we start class? Or do we need a break halfway through when we start the second hours? I mean, this class we don't have the 2 hours. But the other class, do we need to do something like that? Or, I mean, do you guys want like a little 10-minute halfway through? What?
I think you not covering a syllabus is break enough.
Is okay. Okay. All right. All right. Well, good. All right, but what about the 2-hour class? Same thing? All right, we'll do it. We'll try it out. And you guys start to stand up, do it, because that's like 4 hours you guys are just sitting here. Right, and I know McGill is a lot more interesting than I am, so he kind of builds you up, get you, and then you're let down, the second 2 hours, right?
So you had his class?
What's that?
So you had his class?
No, I've never actually sat in one of his class, so I have no idea. Yeah.
Also, both today and yesterday, we got done around 20 minutes early for that class.
From his class?
Yeah, so we've had a little bit of time.
Well, he's like super nice, man. I'm not like that. Wow. So yeah, that's why he's the favorite. I see. Yeah. Get you guys out early.
How? Yeah, just wait.
Oh, he's still saying. Well, that's what he said. He actually told me, he's like, I'm glad the same students have you right after me, because then they just stick around. And stuff like that. And they're not just running out the door or anything like that. So, works out good. And I know it stinks again. It's late in the afternoon. This is about everyone's nap time, right? Everything else, it's my nap time. and so we all get tired. But yeah, so if I schedule, I wouldn't have planned this time, but it's not up to me. So anyway, we'll do the best we can for what we're given, right? All right, so let's talk a little bit about Microsoft Windows and why you have to take this class, well, especially when I talk up Linux all the time, right? And everything else. So what is Windows Server used for? I talked a little bit about it last class. Yeah?
I said Active Directory a few times.
Active Directory. So what does that mean? What? All right, raise hand. 5 people said something. Yeah.
Internal file management.
Internal file management. Yeah.
Usernames and passwords.
Usernames and passwords. It does manage all that. Yep. Anything else? Yeah, it manages users and computers and how you access them. I mean, and it's for internal networks, right? So this college uses, for all the computer labs, uses Active Directory, right? That way you don't have to log in here and have a different password when you go to room 116, 117, or when you log into vSphere, it's not a different password, right? Or a completely different login. When you log into vLinux, it's all the same password set up already there for you. That's what Active Directory does. So that makes it pretty convenient, right? So that all the passwords the same, you set it up in one place, and you just join these applications to what's called the domain. And if you're part of that domain, everything else, then you can log in to all these different systems or applications at the same time. You see why that's attractive to businesses and things like that? So that's an internal thing. You don't have that out on the internet, right? Where Linux is run. Not every website you go to, you sign into one website, all the other websites are the same, right? But they're starting to turn to that, aren't they? With like Linux, with Google authentication, Facebook. Don't you go to some websites and it's like, use your Facebook login to log into this website, right? So they're having almost these other companies manage this global authentication, because they go, well, if Facebook knows who you are and they're a reliable site and they're really big, then we'll trust Facebook that that's who you are and that you can log into this website, and we'll just use Facebook as your login, right? So, but that's a completely different technology than from Active Directory, right? And it's controlled strictly by Facebook, right? Which other companies might not want you to do that for internal applications, right? To be able to log into this lab, you don't want to have to go through Facebook first, right? And things like that. So Active Directory is a very powerful tool to be able to do that, and it's a good product. Now, can you do the same thing in Linux? Yeah, sure. Everything you do in Linux, you can do in Windows, and 98% stuff you can do in Windows, you can do in Linux. It's just ease of use and tools that are available. Microsoft created some very good tools to be able to facilitate that, a manager, a system, and a control center to be able to manage all of this. And so it became very popular and built up, and that's why companies use it, because it's easy to get it set up and going fairly quickly. There are some Linux distributions out there that are specified in that. One of them is called ClearOS. It's a really good Clear
OS.
Yeah, like Clear. And it has a very nice website that manages all this too. And then there's another Linux distribution that creates their own set of tools, which kind of does the same thing too. But they don't look the same and they don't act the same. Do you see what I mean? There's no unification as to how those work and manage your Active Directories and your what's actually called directory services. Does that make sense? But Microsoft is one product that everybody will use, and they understand it and everything else. So that's why it's widely used for internal networks. The second you get outside this college onto the internet, that's where Linux is running and manages all those web servers that are out there. Does that make sense between an internal network and an external network, and how it's managed and the difference of Linux and Windows? and some of the reasons why. So that's one of the things is Active Directory. What else? What else does Windows Server do? Yeah.
The shares, your SMB shares, you can have it do your DHCP, your DNS, your email servers, pretty much any kind of things you need to do.
Right. So there's other services that run within Windows Server. If you weren't able to hear Ben, he talked about DHCP, DNS, everything else. So there are these different services that you will be initiating in Windows Server. Okay? One in particular is DHCP, which was mentioned. Does anyone know what DHCP is and how it works? Maybe yeah.
This assigns IP addresses to devices.
That's all it does, is it assigns an IP address. Every computer that's on a network has to have an IP address, right? And so it automatically assigns an IP address to a machine. The second you turn it on, a signal's heard, DHCP goes, there's a computer on. Boom, I'm going to give it an IP address. And it's within Windows Server and Windows DHCP service that you can manage how those IP addresses are assigned and for how long. Sometimes you may want them only run for a week or for a day. If it's a guest wireless access, you probably only want it to last for that day, right? Because it's for a guest type of person, as opposed to you students who come in, you may want that to last longer, all semester or something like that. And you can manage that. You can manage the numbering scheme of those IP addresses, right? And what network they're on. So that's DHCP. DNS was mentioned. What's DNS? We'll see if anyone besides Ben knows, because he has already answered two. But I'll come back to you if no one else knows. Anyone else know DNS?
I think our domain name server.
Yes. Yeah, domain name services. So what does that mean? So now? Ben, you know what it is?
When you type google.com, it changes google.com to Google's IP address instead.
That's it. So it changes google.com to an IP address. So you want, because an IP address is like a phone number, right? And it dials up a certain computer or machine, right? We don't remember all those phone numbers of every single computer, right? But we do know names, right? You know google.com, that's easy to remember. So when you type in google.com, it converts to google.com, looks it up in a database, in a DNS database, changes it to an IP address, and then it can go out and it can find those servers. Okay? So google.com is not hosted on an internal network. So how does DNS help you out with that? I hear some whispering. Yeah. It does talk with Linux. Well, yeah, and there's it helps with that, but it helps with any type of host name, right? So when you're connecting to a server, usually you give a server a name, right? Even if it's an internal server. It could just be local storage, right? We may have a network drive over here that all of you can just be a common letter drive in your Windows, like it could be the H drive or something like that, right? In Windows. So if you went to My Computers and saw your H drive there, you can click on your H drive and save it. And that's really a computer over here, or a server. And that has a name. And the way that name is resolved is through DNS. DNS says, hey, whatever we name that server Yoda, or whatever else. So when you click on that H drive, it goes, oh, that's Yoda. We'll go to the Yoda server, or whatever else. So that's how DNS works within an internal network, because each of these machines are usually given a name too. Usually in a lab, you just number the names, right? It might be computer 1, 2, and that's why you have numbers on the back of all these monitors, because that probably is assigned to part of what the host name is of these machines. I haven't actually checked that to confirm that, but that's usually how it works in a lab environment. What are some of the other services that we use Windows Server for? How about security? You can manage a person's computer remotely all in one place. Again, let's say you work at that top secret federal government, Google warehouse thing that's out here, right? And they don't want you taking in thumb drives in there to be able to copy things to thumb drives. So all the computers in there, you want to deactivate the USB port on all those computers. Well, through Active Directory, you can do that. You can manage that computer and say, disable all the USB drives for all the computers within this domain. USB drive doesn't work. Sometimes you guys find out with these labs, right? So disable those don't work, right? So that's what Active Directory does. It does certain security protocols as well. Who can log in? Since it manages logins, who can log in to what system at what level, right? For instance, that vSphere application, which I showed you yesterday, and which we'll be using in this class as well, I can log in as administrator, but I can also log in as a student, right? All that's managed through Active Directory. You guys can only log in at a certain level capability, as a student level, right? And that's the way we have you set up, to log in as a student. So we added you, it wasn't actually me, it was Kathy. She added you guys in and put you in the student group so that you can't see each other's folders and mess with each other's labs, right? Because that would kind of be bad. Right? Do you want everyone else messing with your stuff? Probably not. So really quickly, we were able to go through and set all that up for you, and we do that through Active Directory. All we have to do is add you to the domain. So you kind of see some of the attractiveness of Windows Server and some of the services that it can run. Let me see if I'm missing anything here. The other thing it does is Hyper-V. Has anyone ever heard of Hyper-V? It's one of the newer features or updated features in Server 2012, which we're going to be using. So Hyper-V is it's Microsoft's version of vSphere, basically, where you can run virtual machines in a Windows Server system. I don't know how widely used it's at. I've heard a lot of people complain about it. I've only used it a little bit, and it was fine when I used it, but I haven't used it in depth, so I don't know when you use it on a big scale if there's a difference or something like that. So those are a few servers. That's why we are sit here. There are certifications for Microsoft Server, which are very, very appealing to companies that you can sign up for. This book is designed, again, for those certifications. And again, you'll kind of notice a lot of these classes which are designed with certification in mind, like the CCNA. I mean, that's actually called the name of the certification. And it's designed a certain way. Take you through it. Again, that's why the structure of this class is a little bit different than the Linux class. I'm not teaching you for the certification. But here are the two certifications. So it's a Microsoft Certified Server Engineer, and Microsoft Server, I think it's Associate. Someone look it up, what the A stands for. These are very, Microsoft is the one that actually distributes these certifications. They designate what's on the test, and if this is what you want to get into to manage internal networks, right? Then managing internal networks, getting a certification from Windows Server, I would really recommend it. You know, Windows Server, again, like I said, is not, if you want to get into more internet stuff, web pages, outside cloud stuff, I wouldn't recommend Windows for that. But they do have what's called private clouds that they're trying to develop now, which is so corporates kind of have their own cloud services that are managed themselves, and Microsoft is really working hard to try and obviously corner that market. I think they're having a tough time with that because Amazon offers a really competitive tool that's very popular to do that. Has anyone ever heard of Amazon Web Services? Like, it's really amazing. It's kind of like that vSphere that you guys are doing, but Amazon runs it. And they host all your computers for you, and you just go in through a web page, and you set up your window. You can set up a Windows server. Set up Ubuntu or CentOS server. Whatever else, just right through Amazon. You pay them a monthly fee for online cycles, and you just, I think there might even be a free one out there where you just get a very limited machine for a certain amount of time. And so Microsoft's kind of fighting against them and trying to gather that because a lot of companies are moving over to that. If you're not aware of Netflix, anyone have Netflix? Netflix, did you guys know that in the evening time, during prime time, Netflix dominates about half of the internet through streaming, through content? Like, not through volume-wise, right? Just that's how much is going through the internet through that time. But the reason I bring up Netflix is because they're hosted on Amazon Cloud Services. Do you guys know that? So if Amazon goes down, which it has, Netflix goes down, which it has too. But usually it's not too long. But yeah, Netflix decided, hey, I'll have Amazon manage all the servers for me, all the hardware stuff, right? And then we can remote in and we'll do all the software stuff just remotely because we don't care about the hardware stuff, right? And so Microsoft is desperately trying to build, and your book talks about this, the private cloud for businesses. So businesses, if you go work for whatever, name a company, and they have their own cloud services to be able to stream training videos, to be able to just store documents, to have, they have Office 365 now, right? That's kind of comparable to Google Docs and things like that. And you can have your own Office 365 that you manage yourself. And only people within your company can access that, right? And they have OneDrive. Any of you guys use OneDrive? I don't use it all that often. But it's the same thing where you can have OneDrive just for that company to be able to share this one cloud folder to save all your documents on. So that's another thing Microsoft is trying to prepare. I don't know how popular it is out there. I haven't really done the research on it. But that's really where they want to drive as well and go, hey, you can have your own cloud services. You don't need to go to Amazon, and we'll manage it for you. And then you're in control of it yourself instead of Amazon being in control of it. Okay? And I think that's about all my throat can handle here. So, before we get started, there are three different editions of Windows Server. We're going to be looking at Windows Server 2012 R2. The R2 is the second release. 2012 came out, and then they come out with kind of a follow-up release, R2, so that's the latest release. Windows Server 2016 is coming out. I don't know if it's already coming out. It's coming out very soon if it hasn't already come out. But there's no textbooks yet or training, and the certification isn't on 2016 yet. So that's why you're getting 2012 right now for that. So we are going to be setting up for a lab. Unlike the Linux lab, you only set up 2 machines. In this class, you get to set up at least 4 machines and possibly a 5th one. Okay? So you'll be setting up a main Windows server and then something that's called a domain controller. Okay? Which will be able, it's just another way to access the main server in a different place. And then you're going to also set up a Windows Server Core installation, which is a command line only version of Windows. And then you're also going to install probably Windows 8 as a client so that you can link to the desktop system as well, and just make sure, and that's the way you're going to test everything, right? Log into Windows 8, oh yeah, I can access that folder, right? I can just log in on one and be able to access everything. I was able to get assigned an IP address, things like that. So you'll be jumping back and forth a lot, but like I said, with vCenter, it should be really easy because you just jump back and forth between tabs, right? With the way that it's set up. So there are different editions, and I'm going to let you guys look at that and say that out because my throat really is dying. Here, so go ahead, log into Rock, and in Rock there's a lab for today which asks specific questions about the different editions for Microsoft's server, and the different editions and the difference between them. So, yeah.
That assignment is, the time is wrong for the due date.
It was due last night. I did it.
Oh, it was due last night. Oh, let's see. Oh, was it due like at midnight? All right, let me fix that.